So today is a day of story time, and I want to talk about why I love being a nudist. And I don't think I've ever actually done a talk just about this topic. Normally, it's sort of interjected into various thoughts and ideas, but I don't know, it's a topic that being what? A nudist or a naturist. And and the reason I want to talk about this, it's not just, fun stories and stuff, because it really is fun stories. But there's a lot bigger reasons. Because one of the beautiful things about naturism, because that's really what they call it, right? It's not just, like, I'm not an exhibitionist. In Ontario, I'm not sure if it's the rest of Canada, but in Ontario, it's legal for women to walk topless, right? It's been legal since the 90s anyway. I know I was in university when they passed the law that we were allowed to be topless. But I wouldn't walk down the street topless. Like, that's not something I would do. Like, I have no interest in people staring at me and being shocked, or I just have no interest. No, and I've never seen anyone do it. It's not a thing. It never caught on. It was almost like we are allowed to, but no one does it. But it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit in the world. It's a funny thing. And so but naturism is different. Naturism is this idea that it's natural to be naked. It's healthy. And not only is it healthy, it brings us back to our humanity. It brings us back to what's real. It takes away all class and status and money and all these weird things that have separated us into some weird hierarchy, because you don't have the clothes that make you look a certain way, and you can't hide anything. Like, it's a very honest way of being. And so it's actually this amazing philosophical, almost a spiritual experience to be amongst other nudists or other naturists. And I recently wrote an article called "Why Nudist Resorts Are a Kind of Utopia." And because it's funny, because a friend of mine, she had invited me a couple months ago to go, or a month ago, to go down to Florida, to go to a nudist resort with her. Well, if there was anything that was going to, what do you call it? No, not taunt. Anyway, if there was anything that was going to make me say, okay, this is worth trying to get out of Canada for, going to a nude resort with my friend, that would be it. And she'd never been to one, so it's kind of to go with someone who's like, whoa, right? Like, I really wanted to go. And I couldn't, for political and weird reasons. So but she came back and she was like, it was like a utopia. Like, what's that? Why is it so much fun? Why was it so wonderful to be naked with a whole pile of people? She goes, I don't understand it. She goes, I've never felt anything like this in my whole life. I've never felt this kind of freedom and this kind of non-judgment and this kind of just total acceptance of life and bodies and age. She said, like, why does no one know about this? Because she was really nervous. She's not some hard body, Hollywood perfect thing, but she just said it was the most comfortable, wonderful, fun place. She goes, I've never seen such fun people in my whole life. And this is also my experience, right? So the first thing to look at is there's a big difference between naturism and hedonism, right? And I didn't know this. I didn't know anything. All I knew when I first stepped into this world, it was back, I was still married, and it was like a bucket list thing. I wanted to be on a nude beach. I wanted to do it. I wanted to be able to stand naked in front of complete strangers once in my life, right? It was one of those bucket list things. And my husband was like, he really wasn't sure about it at all. Well, he didn't want to do it. And so I found this amazing resort down in Jamaica that was half and half. It was half clothing optional and half, well, as the naturists call it, textile. Or, as the naturists called it, there was a nude beach and a prude beach. So I thought, well, this is kind of perfect, right? Because that way I can go and have my bucket list experience, and my husband can go to the other beach. And he's not a sun worshiper anyway. He's redheaded, burns in a minute. He's not going to be laying on the beach anyway. So I thought, this is perfect. But the weird thing was, so across the road from this resort we were staying at was the very famous resort Hedonism. And I didn't know anything about anything. I didn't know anything about nudists. I didn't know anything about nudist resorts. I didn't know anything about anything. So I didn't know I didn't know which resort to pick. I knew they both allowed clothing optional. I knew this was all possible, but I didn't know which was what. So anyway, so I was looking at the Hedonism Resort and I thought, they had some funny things. Like, when you're reading something and they're not really saying what is going on. Like, there's something they're just not saying. It's like talking to a teenager and asking them what they did last night. You're like, I think you're telling me something, but not everything. And there were just funny things like, if you went down with your girlfriends, the fourth girlfriend was free. Like, if a bunch of women went down, the fourth woman was free. And I was like, so they're lacking women. They want more women there. That's interesting. And then there were funny things like, if you stayed in a beach-facing balcony suite, there were binoculars fitted to the railings. And I was like, why are the binoculars fitted to the railing? Like, just all these weird things. But I couldn't quite put my finger on what was going on. But all I knew was, okay, there's something else going on here that I'm not sure what it is. And I don't have any judgment about it. I have lots of friends that love going to hedonism. It's not that. Well, anyway, so I decided to go to the other one. So we get there. And what we discovered was, after talking to people, is there's really a divide. There's sort of lots of places you can go and be naked, but lots of places are very open sexually. And so you're allowed to, there's sex games in the pool and there's sex games in the, it's almost a freedom space, but it includes sexuality. It includes playfulness and doing all these fun things, right? It's a whole other world, right? Naturism is different. Naturism, you're actually not allowed to have any sexual innuendo. If you went up to someone at this resort we went to, or on the nude cruise that I'm going to talk about, or anything like that, where it's a specifically naturist vibe, if you went up to someone and was like, hey, how you doing? And you kind of looked them over, you could report them. Like, it's not allowed. It's very, very strict because that's part of the safety of the space. And of course, I didn't know anything about this. And this was really interesting. And there's something about that also adds to this utopia idea, this idea that there's no sexual energy. Like, and it's not that there's no sexual energy. Like, we're all still human, right? There's pheromones, there's life, we're alive people. But when you're not allowed, when that's been taken off the table, something changes. You just get to relax. You get to just, because you're very vulnerable. You're naked, right? You don't want somebody, like, for example, one time, in Toronto, there's a beach called Hanlan's Beach. It's beautiful, and it's clothing optional. So it's not actually under the naturist regime. Like there's no, it's not like that because anyone goes. It's a public place. Anyone goes. So when you go there, a huge percentage of people that go there wear clothes, but you can be naked if you want. So it's a whole different vibe, right? Like I still go because I like it. I like being naked in the sunshine. And it doesn't really bother me people looking at me. Like that's not me walking down the street and shocking some poor mom with her children or grandparents or something. It's not that. You're at a clothing optional beach. You're going to see naked people. So I don't feel like I'm being an exhibitionist there. And it doesn't really bother me. Like if you're uncomfortable taking your clothes off, that's okay. But you do have to get used to people looking at you, right? Because they're kind of, staring at you. But one time I went to the beach. This was when I was living in Toronto, and I went there just during the week, so there was nobody there. And I was just lying there, just totally enjoying just being naked, lying in the sun. And this guy came up to me, naked, and he kind of stood there, like looking me up and down. And I laid there just like, oh, like it was like every cell of my body was like turning inside out. Like it was just like, stop looking at me. What are you doing? And then he kind of sat down beside me and he's like, hey, you're really pretty or something. I was like, please don't look at me. Don't do this. Don't. And I'd never experienced that being naked. And I realized, wow, I'm so glad those rules exist in the controlled resorts, in the nude cruises, because this is really uncomfortable. Like it's just more uncomfortable. Like there's something weird about having, if I simply even had a bathing suit on, even though there's nothing, I mean, a bathing suit doesn't really cover any more than you're naked, but it covers something and it makes you feel a little safer. So anyway, I realized then just how important this almost culture was to have this wonderful safety, to be allowed to be naked and have no one pick you up and no one like look you up and down. Like you're just naked. It's not a big deal. It's the desexualization of being naked, but not in an anti-sexual way, just in a like, so whatever. So I'm naked, you're naked, and like it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean suddenly, it's almost like because society has over-sexualized the naked body because we've hidden it and made it so taboo that we go and watch people strip in shows, and we watch people's naked bodies and it's taboo and it's bad and you have to hide it. It's like so over-sexualized us that we think that as soon as I see a naked person, and I'm attracted to them, does that mean I have to have sex with them? What if they don't want to have sex with me? Oh my God, the pressure. Like it does this weird thing to us, right? It's like one of the first questions that men ask. They say, well, I couldn't go to a nude beach because, I'd have an erection the whole time. And it's like, no, you wouldn't. And then the negative Nellies say, yeah, that's because the people that are there, you wouldn't want to see them naked, right? Like there's so much judgment about the naked body. There's so much judgment about body image and what we're supposed to look like and all these weird, real twists that really, it affects us whether we are in a nude beach or whether we're wearing clothing. It affects us all the time. These ideas that, oh, well, I'd better wear clothes because I'm horrid naked, or there's something wrong with me, or I have cellulite, or my boobs are too big or too small or too floppy, or my bum is this, or my penis is this, or like we have so many issues about our bodies. But as soon as you step foot on a naturist resort or a nudist cruise, which I will tell you about in a minute, it all goes away. There is something about dropping all the clothes and looking around at everybody and thinking, wow, we're really not different. You know, it's not like, it was really interesting the first time. So the first time we went to this resort, so my husband was like, I'm not going. I think he might have thought I was going to back out. Like, I think he might have was like, well, we'll get there, but she's not gonna really do it, right? And I was like, okay, I'm heading over there. And he's like, you're really gonna do it? And I'm like, I'm really gonna do it. And he's like, and of course, he was pretty mortified at the idea of his wife going to a naked beach without him. So, needless to say, he had a couple rum drinks, and off we went. So and this was also, if you've read my book, Tantric Intimacy, and I talk about my trip to Jamaica with my husband where we practiced all this beautiful Tantra, this was the trip. So besides just exploring Tantra, we also anytime we weren't in the bedroom, we were at this lovely naked beach, which really added to the whole experience. Like, and I don't mean just sexually, but in a personal healing, like in a personal self-love, wonderful, expansive, here's what it really is to be human way, right? But the first day we went, the truth is, I was so frightened. Like, I was so worried. Like, because I'm not some hard body. I'm not some Hollywood perfect, whatever you imagine a perfect body to be. That's not it, right? I've had body issues my whole life, right? And I've probably gained and lost thousands of pounds in my life. Like, it's just not how it is, right? And so, sorry, there's someone knocking at my door. And so, anyway, so I kind of walk onto the beach, and I've got my sarong wrapped around me, and we go and we find 2 chaise lounges, right? And we lay down in the chaise lounge, and I've got my sarong wrapped around me, and I'm literally got my eyes closed, and I'm like, come on, Katrina, you can take it off. Just take it off. Just suck it up. You're okay. Just do it. And I literally like went, I took it off, and I laid there, and I couldn't look at anybody. I didn't want to make eye contact. I didn't want to see if anyone was looking at me. We have a lot of weird ideas about people looking at us. Like, it's almost like once you realize that you're not that interesting, on the one hand, it's a bit of a blow to the ego. Then it really makes you feel happy. But then you're kind of like, oh, like, we're all just naked? Like, it's no big deal? So anyway, so I take the thing off, and I'm adjusting to the fact that I'm naked. I'm happy to be naked. Like, I'd probably gone naked skinny dipping in the dark, but never out in public, right? And next thing you know, this guy walks to the end of my chaise lounge, fully dressed, because he worked there. He was one of the waiters, and he says, "Ma'am, can I get you a drink?" And I'm like, oh my, like, don't look at me, like, I'm naked. Like, what do you, like, I'm so mortified. I'm so shy. Anyway, needless to say, I couldn't get a drink. I couldn't get anything. I couldn't look at anybody. So the next day, we come back, and I'm feeling better. Like, I can actually kind of drop my sarong and then sit down. And then I started to look at people. Like, I actually was looking at people. But I didn't know where to look, right? Was it appropriate to, do you always just have eye contact, or can you look at their bodies? Like, do you look at their genitals? Do you look at their, like, what do you look at? Like, it's just so weird. It's almost like being clothed makes you only look at the part of the skin you see. But as soon as it's all skin, you're like what do you look at, right? And well, anyway, I'm lying there. So whenever I would go on holidays, I would always know I was on holidays because I would buy myself a crossword book because I particularly loved logic problems. So I would lie there. So here's me lying on the beach doing my logic problem, like trying not to look at anybody. So I'm doing my logic problem. And I'm so happy, right? And I'd turn to my husband, I'd say, hey, I'm doing a logic problem on the beach, naked. I was like so entertained, right? And then next thing you know, there's this guy beside me. I don't know, he's just sort of some older guy, and he's lying there, and he starts talking to me. And I look at him and I'm like, so I could like talk to this other person naked. I'm like, it's like you actually like are going through this thing in your brain, like you're undoing, I don't know, I think you're undoing programming. So I turn onto one side and I lay there talking to this guy, and I think he was like a ex-firefighter from North Carolina or something like that. And we're chatting, and we have this great big long talk, and he starts telling me all about the naturist world. Like, because one of the first things people ask you is, have you ever done this before? Have you ever been to a nude beach? And probably based on the fact that I was glued to my chaise lounge, terrified to even get up and go into the water, probably gave him a hint that I was new to this whole idea, right? Anyway, so he kind of gave me the lowdown, right? And I said to him, I'm like, so where do you look? Like, I don't know where to look. He goes, look anywhere you want. He says, it's not, you'll stop looking. Like, it'll just disappear after a while. And I was like, oh. And then I was just about to say to him, I think I might have said, I said, so are there rules about bending over or putting a leg up on a chair, or like, and as we're talking about this group of men are standing over here, and they would have been probably in their 60s or 70s, right? And they're sort of standing, about three guys. And all of a sudden the one guy literally takes his leg up, puts it on the chair, and he sort of stands there like this, talking to his buddies, swinging in the breeze, right? And I just looked at him, and I looked at my new friend, and we both kind of went, well, I guess there's our answer. But the wild thing is, it's almost like the 12-year-old inside of me had to go, I had to have my little giggle and my silly thought. And then I went, oh, this really isn't a big deal. Like, it really isn't. And then it's like, whatever, like, it really doesn't matter. And that's when I actually started looking at people. Like, I actually started looking at their bodies. And you start to realize that the vast majority of people don't look like Barbie and Ken. Whatever that bizarre ideal is that came into our consciousness, it's not just a small percentage. It's a minute percentage. And it's not because we suck. It's because we're all different. And we all have these beautiful bodies and these beautiful shapes and sizes and stuff. And the funny thing about when you have a bathing suit on, the bathing suit kind of cuts you into pieces. So if you imagine a woman's body in a bikini, it literally delineates the body into parcels that you can now criticize. Like, I could put a bikini on and say, okay, well, I like myself from here to my shoulders. Not really thrilled about my arms and my breasts. Well, they're a little saggy, but that's okay. So I'm just going to have this kind of bra that holds them up, right? And my belly, well, there's a lot of like cellulite and stuff there, and some rules sometimes depending on, whatever year it is. And then there's my bum, and and there's that. Well, that's okay. Then there's my legs. And you can kind of like do this weird classification of the body, right? And it's like, you take the bathing suit off and all that disappears. It's like your body just flows in this beautiful sea of skin. It just flows. And so then I was sort of watching all the people, and everybody kind of became like plasticine people to me. Like, it was all like we started with sort of a blob of organs and skin and bones and muscle, and then we all just got squished into all these amazing shapes, like amazing shapes. It's not a judgment. There is no such thing as Barbie equals a 10 out of 10 or a Ken doll equals a 10 out of 10. There's no such thing, because I don't know. It's like you start to love how unique we all are. And so I remember watching this woman walking along the beach, because it kind of took people watching to a different level, but there's no judgment in it. It's like you love to observe the human form in all that it is. And suddenly even age and everything just doesn't matter. Like I remember later, after I'd gone on all these, like the cruise and all kinds of craziness, I was at a retreat in Northern California. And I don't know, I think I was just in sort of a weird funk about something. I don't know, maybe we'd just done a bunch of weird meditations that had gone into some shadow part of me or something. And I was sort of conscious, and it was a nudist place. It was Harbin Hot Springs. It was a beautiful place. And I was just sort of, for some reason, self-conscious of my body. And I looked down at my body, because there are things about my body that I've struggled with in the past. Like, for example, after I was pregnant, I got these huge varicose veins on my legs. Like, not like little spider veins, but the like big, almost like rope veins. And like, so if you looked at my quads, like my quadriceps, these veins like snake down my legs and around, right? Because I was like brutally sick in my pregnancies, like kind of glad I survived, right? And these veins, like they pop, like you can actually see them through my pants if I'm wearing like tight yoga pants, if you really look. So, in the normal world, you might be kind of self-conscious about these big ropey veins rolling around your legs, right? And I've had babies and I had C-sections, so I have scars from surgery, in my breasts or whatever. Like, I'm a 50-year-old woman. Like, that's what I look like. And I'm not saying any of this is negative at all. I love my body. I love everything about it. But if I have the filter of the world on it, like if that world's filter is on it, it's so easy to be critical, right? It's so easy. But the truth is, there's not a man in my life that's ever looked at me and said anything, except for that creepy guy I told you guys about in a couple classes ago. But it's not real. It's a false filter. It's a weird filter. Maybe we were taught by advertisers or just really judgmental, critical people, and it got in our heads. So anyway, I'm standing there at Harbin Hot Springs, and I'm about to step into one of the wonderful pools they had there. And I looked down at my body, and I looked at everyone else's bodies, and I realized this body is almost like it's like a map or a record of my life. It's like a record of everything I've ever experienced, everything I've ever survived, everything that this amazing creation that carries me around has lived through and healed through. Like, it's epic. It's amazing, right? Yeah, does my body look like it's 18? Of course not, because I'm not 18. She has lived through phenomenal things, illness and life and death and depression and glory and ecstasy and amazing things. Like, she is the record of all of it, of the pleasure and the pain and the health and the fitness and the sedentariness, the whole thing. She is the record of that. How could you not love that? And something just shifted inside of me that day. It was like, how amazing. Like, what a miracle she is. So we're back on the beach, and I'm watching this woman walking along the water's edge. And if you looked at her body, like, first of all I saw, honestly, was a goddess walking down the beach. She had kind of long brown hair. She would have been, I don't know, like maybe 40, late 30s, early 40s. And she kind of had this beautiful Greek look about her. She just had this olive skin. She was very beautiful. And she was walking along the beach. And her upper body, like if I was to describe her upper body was very thin. Like she had this very thin frame, very like kind of small chested, very small waist. And then her hips went way out, like really wide. And then they just sort of came down into these points in her toes. And I looked at this beautiful creation, like this beautiful woman walking along, and I thought, wow, what a beautiful woman. And then something clicked into my head and I went, wow, I'll bet society's told her there's something wrong with her hips. I'll bet she wears clothes to try to hide and minimize her hips. This was long before the Kardashians and, the joy of big butts and blah, 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 blah. Like, the actual allowance for all of our wonderful shapes. And and I'll never forget the feeling of watching this woman and how I hoped she never thought for a moment she wasn't an epic beauty, right? But according to society, she didn't look like Barbie. But that's not what she looked like. She was beautiful. Really, really struck me. And there's something amazing. I don't know what it is. There's something about, I remember every so often a guy would come onto the beach who wore shorts, right? Like you're standing on a beach full of naked people. And this guy would come on with shorts. And he almost would have this posturing. Like he'd be standing with a drink and he could almost be, you could see him kind of like, eh? And he wasn't being lewd or anything. Like he wasn't being like lecherous. But it was almost like you could feel the fact that he was hiding and therefore he was posturing. And how different it would have felt if he had just taken off his shorts. Like it's like he would suddenly have joined the rest of us in the sandbox. Because everybody else, we were on the same level. We were on the same playing field. There was no hierarchy. It wasn't even like if someone did have a Barbie doll body, which you almost never see. It's not actually a real thing. Unless you're hanging out with teenagers or something. Like, I'm talking about adults, right? You don't see it. You don't look at it and say, wow, that's more beautiful than that, or that's hotter than that. It's not, that whole thing disappears. Like it just disappears. And it was really wild too. This whole disappearance of economic status is fascinating. Like I remember one time, so by the third day, I was able to walk around. I went swimming, oh my gosh, which was so epic. Like at one point I got like a floater and I'm floating on the ocean, totally naked in the sunshine for all the world to see kind of thing, right? I can't tell you what it felt like. Like it took skinny dipping to a whole another level. Like it just, and there's something about being allowed to reconnect with your body. And it isn't sexual, but it's fully sensual. Like you're allowed to feel everything. But there's none of the nonsense, right? And you guys know I like talking about sex. It's not about sex it's bad. It's just the stigmas disappear. Everything disappears. And you just get to like just be open. It's so, so wonderful. So the funny thing is one time I was walking around there was the beach, but there was also a pool. And there was always this couple lying on chaise lounges by the pool. And I thought they were the coolest looking couple. Like they just looked fun and interesting and juicy. Like you just kind of really wanted to sit and talk to them and say, what's your story? Like, you're so, like, I really want to know what you're all about. And the wildest thing about them is they had these nipple piercings. Like, the guy had nipple piercings that were like those bones, like the bones were going through his nipples. And the woman had all this jewelry all over her, all over her. And I just was like, but they were probably 50, right? They just, and I thought, I really want to know your story. Like, there is something so interesting to you about you. But I never got a chance. For whatever reason, it never felt right, or it just never happened. Well, the wild thing is, the funny thing is, when you meet people naked, something weird happens, because when you later see them with clothes on, you don't recognize them. It's like their being is actually their whole being. And if you only see this much of them, you don't recognize them. So when we would go for dinner at night, because the restaurants, the dining rooms were clothed, you had to wear clothes. So one time, my husband and I are walking through the dining room, and I see this couple, and I'm looking at them like, why do you kind of look familiar, but I don't know. And they were like dressed to the nines, like, just like, you would look at them and you would think, oh yeah, these guys are like, I don't know, bankers or CEOs of something. Like, you just knew that they had been coiffed their whole life. Like, you just knew they came from money or something, right? And I looked at them, and it took me quite a while. Like, luckily I was sitting near them and I could keep staring at them like a weirdo and stare at them. And then finally I was like, it's that couple with the pierced nipples. Well, I'll tell you, I don't ever look at anyone the same now. If I see someone out in public and they are dressed to the nines and they're like totally like, I'm all that in a bag of chips, I'm like, I'll bet you've got bones pierced through your nipples. Like, this is literally my inner giggle everywhere I go. Like, you just have no idea what's under those clothes. And don't get me wrong, I don't have some weird judgment about piercings. I just think it's hilarious what we can hide and what we even psychologically feel like we're hiding because we're wearing clothes. And as soon as we take the clothes off, it's like we take a great big breath and we exhale and we just let all that go. And we just are like, here's me, guys. What do you think? And then when you realize that nobody cares and we're all just hanging out in the sandbox, it's like, wow, this is really fun. I can't tell you how much I've missed this. Right? Okay, so then a couple years later, I discovered that there was something called the Big Nude Boat. And this was a Caribbean cruise line. Well, basically, there's this company called the Bare Necessities. And they rent, thank you guys for your donations. I can't read what you're saying, but I can see some things. So the Bare Necessities rents a Caribbean cruise line, like a Princess cruise line, that holds 3,500 people. And for 10 days, you cruise through the Caribbean naked. Well, how could you possibly say no, right? It was one of those experiences that you have and you're like, I can die now. Like, we walked on the ship. Like, first of all, there's a really interesting sorting of humanity. Because this is a naturist cruise. It's not, there's lots of swingers cruises and lots of things like that to play with. This is a naturist cruise. So there's none of that. Like, you cannot pick someone up. That's not what's going to happen, right? And I mean, look, what you do in your private room and stuff, that's up to you. But when you're out in the world, it's a very safe zone. And sorry, my nose is itchy. So, oh, maybe I love the idea that when your nose is itchy, you're going to kiss a fool, good things are coming. But so the wild thing is, who has been sorted off of the ship, right? Well, everyone's been sorted off of the ship who would have judgment about naked bodies. All those people that say, well, there are a lot of people I don't want to see naked, they're not there. Like, do you know what that mentality is in the world? It isn't just about naked people. It's about everything. It's about what you do for a living. It's about what your hair looks like. It's about who you married. It's about what your kids are doing. Like, that judgment is just judgment. It's just applied to the nude body. So none of those people are on the ship, right? The only people who are on the ship love the idea of being naked. They love this freedom. Like, these are 3,500 of about the funnest people you've ever met. Like, it's just epic. It's like, I remember talking to the people who worked on the ship, because you would ask them, because of course they're all clothed, right? So you ask them, are you uncomfortable working on the naked cruises? Like, is this weird? And they'd say, at the beginning, it's a bit of an adjustment to be around 3,500 naked people. But they said the truth is, they are so much fun. Like, when you talk to the guys that are in charge of like entertainment, the entertainment staff, they said, we don't have to do anything. These people are fun. They bring the fun. They make the fun. Everything they do is fun. They said, we don't have to do anything. We are literally facilitators, because you guys are more fun than we are. So, and he said, it was so true, because you would meet someone, and the first thing they would say to you, because it's like you're already part of a secret club, right? Just the very fact you're on the ship, we already know the secret handshake. We're on the ship, right? Like, I mean, talk about a sense of belonging, right? So the people say to you, they come up and you go, hey, you ever done this before? Can you believe we get to cruise naked all over the Caribbean for 10 days? Like, isn't this the greatest thing in the whole world? Like, isn't this so exciting? Where are you from? Isn't this amazing? What's your name? And it's like this, it's so easy to connect with people because it's so much fun, right? Okay, so I have to tell you my most epic story about the nude cruise. Because one time, so on the top, I don't know if you've ever been on a cruise ship, but on the top of the ship is the Lido deck. So this is obviously sun facing. And so what they do is they take the deck and they hollow out the top down into these tiers, all the way down to another deck down here that has the pools, the hot tubs, and all that kind of thing. So the Lido deck is kind of the pools and hot tubs, all these tiers of chaise lounges up to the top, where it kind of goes around in a circle, and you can kind of like lean over and look down into the bowl of the top of the ship, right? So my husband and I are hanging up at the top, right? We're just sort of hanging out up there doing our thing. And all of a sudden, one of the coordinators, the fun coordinators, yell out, all right, everybody, it's line dancing time. And because it is a cruise ship, right? I mean, this is what cruisers do, right? Or whatever. So I was like, wow, line dancing. So of course the first song that comes on is the Macarena. And I'm like, ugh, Macarena. And then I thought, I've never done the naked Macarena. And I went flying down the steps, and I'm up there with, I don't know, 25 other naked people, and we're all like, dun da da dun da 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 dun da da da. We're like doing this whole Macarena naked in the sun. Like, so much fun. Like, I can't even tell you. Like, it was just the most epic experience, right? Like, you talk about like your face is gonna break because you're smiling so much, like you just can't even believe it, right? And so then the Macarena ends, and the next song is Let's Do the Twist, by Chubby Checker. Well, you can imagine the swinging of things happening. I mean, there's a lot of people in the world that have things that swing. And it's not just boobs and butts, it's skin from losing weight and gaining weight and things and just everything just flying all over. And I'm like, okay, kind of can't miss it because I was going to leave. And then this old guy beside me says, you can't leave. And I was like, okay. Well, then it was like you couldn't twist hard enough. Like it was like the first time in your life you were allowed to let all your bits fly. And it didn't matter whether you had cellulite or this, or whether you were 90 years old or 20 years old. You just twisted for all you were worth. And I just didn't think it'd get better than that. Like it was just like it was almost like the thrill. Like people talk about, how do I raise my kundalini? That's how you raise your kundalini. Like sheer and utter joy. Like it was just off the charts, right? So then, what is the next song that comes on? YMCA. Well, at this point, so yeah, you have to picture this. We're on this lower level, and there's all these tiers of people all the way up. There's thousands of people in my eyes, in my eye view. What's that word? In my view. Vantage, whatever. The YMCA comes on. Every single person on every single tier jumps to their feet, gets to the end of their chaise lounge, and they start dancing the YMCA. So here we are down here, and there are tiers, thousands of people on their feet going, young man, there's no way to get down. And they're going back and forth and they're marching side to side. And then they're just like, why? And they're just, I mean, full out, like thousands of naked people on tiers. Like it was like a Hollywood production, but we didn't mean for it to happen. Like it was just, and then even around the top where you could like kind of stand and look down, they're all marching in perfect unison all the way around, like totally naked. Like I was like, to this day, I just am speechless at the joy that this moment brought me. Like it was so off the charts. Like I just can't even take it. And so when it was over, I went, like practically flew back up the stairs to where my husband was sitting. He's not really quite as extroverted as I am with this whole naked thing. And I just looked at him and I sat down and I said, I can die now. Like, this is like, oh my God. Like, what do you do with that? Like, it was just, I can't tell you what absolute joy that was. That's why when people say to me, how could you ever go on a naked cruise? I'm like, you have to do the naked YMCA. Then everything will change. Like your whole perception of the universe. Like the idea of being self-conscious of anything ever again. Because like, I mean, I've told you guys some of the stories before. Like you would walk around the cruise ship and you would see every kind of body there is. You know, you would walk along and you would see, I remember once that time seeing this granny lying on her chaise lounge, totally naked, knitting, you know? And then there's these guys over there. And the other really interesting thing is you see everyone's scars. And when you think about this, like not just physically, but metaphorically, psychologically, like when you really look at this, because when you see, like when I talk about how the body just flows, like the skin flows, well, the skin flows until it hits a scar. And so there was almost no one on that ship that didn't have a scar, whether it was open heart surgery, whether it was gallbladder surgery, whether it was C-sections like me, whether it was an injury on the arm, whether it was like the scarring was off the charts. And it was an amazing thing. Like, again, it was this, you'd see the scars and it just expanded your consciousness a little bit more. Like when you just realized, wow, think of what everyone on the planet has lived through. The illness, the near-death experiences, the surgeries. How many of these people have gone under the knife? Like, that's a huge deal, and it's always hidden. We are always putting up this white picket fence to the world. But it's almost like we also put it up to ourselves. We forget what we've lived through. We forget the fear. We've forgotten the really challenging times in our lives. But thank goodness we have scars to remind ourselves. It's not a negative. It's a, oh yeah, I lived through that. That was a scary time. Wow, I'm so thankful to be here. Like it reminds us. Every time when I look at these varicose veins on my legs, I remember those years of vomiting and the fact that my body survived. It's a miracle. It's an absolute miracle, right? It just changes everything. Like I told you guys a story about, it was right after actually the YMCA experience that we were sitting back on our chaise lounge on the top deck, and I'm just sitting there and I am just high on life, as you can imagine. And that's when I looked over and there were all these men sitting, chatting, laughing, and just having a great time. And they all got up, and there was one man in particular that was very, just beautiful, like just muscled and just a beautiful man. And smile, like this beautiful smile. And they all got up to leave. And he got up. Well, the first thing I actually noticed is he had a tattoo. And I don't know whether it was a war tattoo or what it was, but it wasn't like a, I don't know. It felt like it was a war tattoo or something. And he got up, but first he had to put his big arm braces on because he had no legs. And he walked on these big, arm crutches. And I watched him. And I was like, wow, what an amazing world we live in. Like, all of these weird ideas we have about body image or what's wrong with us or how we should improve or shaving off this bit of cellulite or wishing we had a bigger boobs or bigger penis or bigger this or bigger that, like, or smaller or a smaller waist or smaller calves or whatever. It's like, where did that come from? Like, it is such sheer nonsense. like it's like, if that's what we're looking at, we're not even seeing the human. We're not even seeing this divine creature standing in front of us. Like, that's what we're looking at? I don't know. It's hard to take seriously anymore, Okay, I have to tell you one more story. This is so the nude cruise and all that, and okay, no, what? I have to tell you one more nude cruise story, and then I'm going to tell you this other story. This one time, my husband and I, we had made friends with this couple, and they were really fun, and we were sitting at this bar eating breakfast, and we're sitting there, and this guy, because I really did get really entertained by piercings. Like, and this was a while ago. Like, we would have gone on the cruise like 10 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And so, I mean, people have gotten a lot more tattoos and a lot more piercings since then. Like, a lot of things have gone pretty mainstream. So I was still, or maybe I'm just really naive, but I was really always amazed by the piercings. Because again, when you looked at the people, you'd go, wow, if I saw you walking down the street, I would never have guessed this in a million years. So one time, the four of us are sitting at this bar eating breakfast, and this guy walks along, and he would have been in his mid 70s. And he's walking along, and I was particularly entertained by genital piercings. I kind of couldn't imagine it, but it was really common to have like the foreskin pierced or the scrotum pierced and all these kind of things, right? And it's so wild because it's the one, I don't know how to say this. It's like if they have genital piercings, you're allowed to look. Like it's not weird because they've pierced their genitals. So for you to go and look at it, it's not weird because it's kind of like they're dressed up, right? And you kind of look and you go, oh, and then you don't look again. Like it's not a big deal. It's not some weird overly sexual, like, oh, you're not doing that. See, I can't even do lecherous, but you're not doing that. You just sort of look and go, oh, that's interesting. And then you go on with your day. It's not a big deal, except this one time. So my husband and the other guy, they're chatting, and I'm chatting with this woman, and we're just sort of giggling away, doing, I don't know, being silly. And all of a sudden, I look over, and there's this guy walking towards where we were sitting. And I look, because I could tell like something was flashing at his genitals, like something was glittering in the sun, right? So I look, and he has this piercing that kind of went, I don't even know how it worked. I think it went around the head of his penis, and it had two eyeballs on it. So, because they're eyeballs. So I'm looking at the eyeballs. I turn to my friend, and I'm like, hey. She's like, what? And I'm like, look. And she looks at it, and she says, what you looking at? And that was it. We were like, hey, Four Eyes. It was like every eyeball joke that we've ever heard in our life is just flying out of our mouths to the point that we are cackling and giggling. Like we can't even. Like, and our poor husbands are both like, what? And we're like, well, there's this guy and he had these eyeballs on his penis. Like, what do you do? Like, just, oh, it was the funniest thing in the whole world. Like the freedom to just get to do that, and it's not insulting, and it's not making fun of anybody, it's not judging, it's not anything. It's just, I love what you've done here. Like one night a lot of nights they had dress up parades, and and of course I remember like they said that in the introductory package, like when we were packing, to say, oh, well, we're going to have these dress up nights. And we're like, what's a dress up night on a nude cruise? I don't even know what that means. And well, it turns out they would have like Mardi Gras night, and then they would do this parade where you could dress yourself up. Well, of course, the interesting thing is when you start off with a naked body, anything goes. So people would have like Christmas lights wrapped around their bodies and like around their breasts and around their penis, or like all this. And you could just do anything. Like you could suddenly wear your scantily, like your skimpiest lingerie, and then put body paint on, and you're dressed up. Like it was so much fun. Like it was just, oh, it was so much fun. Yeah, anyway. In the land of would I go on a nude cruise again? In a heartbeat. Like, in a heartbeat. It was so much fun. Okay, I'm going to tell you one more story. I know we're over the hour, but I'm going to tell you one more story. So, because this is a little different. So I had friends, we met people on the nude cruise, this couple, and they lived in San Diego. And I was close to them because I was going to another retreat down in California. And they called me and they said, Katrina, if you're coming to, it must have been San Francisco. It was in San Francisco. If you're coming, we have to go to this festival. Because years ago, you could be naked in the streets of San Francisco, no problem, but a lot of laws came in and said, no, you can't be naked anymore, except at sanctioned festivals. Well, apparently this was a sanctioned festival that you were allowed to be naked at. So this couple that we met, they said, if you're going to be in San Francisco, we should go to this festival together. And I was like, okay, I guess I was kind of in a real yes phase of my life. And I said, yeah, sure, okay. And I didn't know anything about it. And they said, well, there might be some kind of sexy stuff going on there. Like, are you okay with that? And I'm like, sure, cool. Well, this fair, this sanctioned festival, was called Up Your Alley. There's this famous festival in San Francisco called Folsom Street Fair, which is basically this huge BDSM kink festival. And it's predominantly like in the gay male community and blah, 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 and it's kind of known for being edgy. Well, the one I was going to, the Up Your Alley, they call it Folsom Street's dirty little cousin, because it kind of goes even edgier. Of course, I don't know any of this. All I know is I'm meeting my fun friends to go to some festival in San Francisco where we're going to walk naked. That's all I know. So we get there, and it was a real eye opener. Like, most people were dressed in spandex or chains, or people were tied to trees and you could whip them, and there was naked twister and wrestling and like dog, like the whole thing. Like, you name it, it was there. It was, a lot of things I'd certainly never seen before, but I was like, at this point, I'd lived in a small community, rural community for a long time. And I was like, whatever floats your boat, I'm so happy to be here. Like, I'm so in. And so anyway, we get there and we're standing there and we kind of find this, they had all these stations where they would spray you down with sunscreen. So we get to this sunscreen station. And my friends, of course, and they're older, like they're like literally like they're nudists because they're old hippies, right? Like, they've been doing this for decades and decades and decades, right? I'm just a newbie still. Even though I was on a nude cruise, I'm still quite a newbie to this. So of course they're like instantly naked. They're just like, pfft. And I'm standing there, and there's something in me going, why am I suddenly feeling shy? Like, something's different, because I haven't quite put the whole thing together yet, right? And I'm thinking, something's funny about this. And it's like, no, Katrina, you're here to have an experience. Come on, take it off. You're okay. Just take it off. Welcome to my inner voice. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. So I took all my clothes off, and next thing you know, there were 30 people standing around me with their cameras taking pictures. And like, every cell of my body froze. And so it dawned on me, you're in public. There are no rules here. In a naturist resort or on a nude cruise, there are no cameras allowed. There are no phones allowed. You are not allowed to take pictures. So it never dawned on me that anyone would take pictures. And I'm standing there like this, like, now what? And I thought, well, I'm just naked. No one knows who I am. It's probably not going to get back to social media. Then I had to kind of decide if I could handle this kind of attention, like. And I just, again, I was like in a, yes, Katrina, break through it, do it, whatever. So I did it. It was one of the weirdest experiences of my life. And not in a happy way. In the land of things I would do again, this isn't one of them. And so I walked around, and at this point, I didn't have a single tattoo. I was white as a ghost because I mean, I live in Canada and it wasn't, I don't even know when this was in the year, but I think it was like maybe early spring or something. So I am like sheer white ghost of a Canadian in San Francisco where everyone is beautifully tanned and, you know, not a tattoo on me, not a piercing on me, short of a few like earrings, nothing. I am literally the most vanilla, boring specimen at this festival. And people started coming up to me saying, "Hey, can I get my picture taken with you?" And I'm like, "What? I'm just naked." Like, it's not a, there's, you want to take a picture of me here? It was so weird. Like, it was really, really weird. Like, the difference between the two was unbelievable. Like, it was almost like you could almost feel the repression. It was so weird. But it was just, you know, but yeah, I'm like, okay, you can take a picture. I mean, they were going to take a picture. They'd already taken a picture. It's not like they hadn't already taken pictures. People would even take videos. They would be like, I'd have the video going and like this going down the street. And I'd be like, what's wrong with you? There's the internet. It's not like you don't have access to naked women. Like, what are you doing? Like, it's so weird. It's so weird. But, and anyway, that's why for now, it was, I just don't do that anymore. It's, that kind of thing is not any fun, but naked cruises, naked resorts, 100% in. Naked beaches, love it. I'm so all in. So I'm going to put my... It seems like I'm talking about healthy boundaries under all of this. Boundaries are the difference between creepy and respectful. Boundaries and real respect for the human body. Like, imagine looking at a human body in beautiful respect for the amazing creation it is, as opposed to looking at the human body as something to be objectified. Wow, she's got great. Like, wow, I'd like to do that. Like, that's all objectification. And we do it to ourselves. Like, we try to look like someone who wants to be, you know, someone who wants to have sex with or something. But that objectification of the body is huge in the world. It's right down to, oh, good, here are my measurements now. Oh, here's what I weigh now. It's pure objectification, as if you could value a body based on what it weighs, or value a body based on the circumference of the waist or the thighs or the hips or the chest. This is pure objectification. There's no respect in it. But when you look at a body with full respect, you just go, hey, I'm glad you're here, right? Yeah, a lot of people have issues with being thin. Like, it's a thing. I have friends who just, they couldn't gain weight to save their soul. They just, it's like, it's all. Like, it's a, you know, there's a, like, even in my work, there's so many men who struggle with penis size or women with breast size or all these things. And it's like, it has nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with it. Zero. Like, zero. It's so not important. It's just so not important. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for your donations. And I will see you soon.